Hey, what's happening, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I do hope all of you are doing well today, man. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, the daily series right here on Football Therapy, where I look across the rags, the media, see what's being said about the Blues and consolidate it for a video for you guys, see what you're saying about it, offer you my opinion. But yeah, more importantly, asking for yours. And why us Chelsea fans are all eagerly waiting some updates regarding Kai Havertz, the news today is looking like it's more centre-back, or certainly defensive line orientated. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Chelsea potentially selling their first player, who else they could potentially sell, and what's the deal with Declan Rice? What would it take to pull him away from the Hammers? Lots to get into. I thank you all for watching Football Therapy every day to keep up with Chelsea news and what's being said around the rags, but if you want something on the go to keep you informed, you should absolutely check out OneFootball. That's right, my sponsor OneFootball is a slick, all-in-one consolidated platform that gives you every single thing you need to know about the beautiful game, and more specifically Chelsea if you select it on the app. It's completely free, it gives you alerts, transfer news, everything to do with football matches. Go check out OneFootball now by clicking the link in the top of the description. Do yourself the favour. Alright, let's get into it. Alright then, let's start with Chelsea's first potential sale this window, and that is, not surprisingly in many ways, but Emerson Palmieri, Chelsea's left back. No one will cry for Emerson when he leaves Chelsea, but it is a little bit of a sad story, a sort of what could have been, although he hasn't seemed great for a while, and hence no one would be upset to see him go. For a while there, under Maurizio Sarri, the second half of that season where he muscled himself into the left-back spot over Marcus Alonso as a more conventional left-back, he looked great, combining down the left-hand flank with Eden Hazard and Ruben Loftus-Cheek really well. He looked like a really fearsome and offensive left-back, and it kind of suited Sarri's football really, really well. Hell, he even started this season, that's just finished, quite well under Frank Lampard, but then something happened, he dropped off, and really that was it. He was gone. He was sort of almost erased from all our brains, and was like, yeah, well, we don't play Emerson, can't play Emerson, he's done. Well, it's a little bit of a strange story. Anyway, apparently he's off to Inter Milan. That's right, former coach Antonio Conte, who I believe bought him in a January transfer window, he's looking to bring in the Brazilian-Italian left-back to his Inter Milan side. It's being reported around the press that he's actually agreed a 5-year deal with Inter, and, you know, personal terms and wages is all cool. They're just waiting on confirmation for a transfer with Chelsea for £22.6 million. Now, if these reports are true, which I of course cannot confirm as not an insider, I'd be completely happy with this deal. It's about right considering the sort of post-COVID world, the apocalypse that we're currently living in. Best part of £23 million for a player that's not playing, that's pretty decent, that's pretty much not going to be involved. I don't think we spent that much on Emerson, making around back what we paid for him. To be honest, he's not, I hate the term deadwood because it's really derogatory, but one of these unwanted players, to bring that in, good luck to him. Antonio Conte gets to play once, he gets a 5-year deal, he gets to go back to Italy, play for a big side, challenging for silverware. Everybody wins. So, I will of course keep you guys posted on developments regarding this story, but hopefully it goes through, I guess, this deal. Anyway, let's move on. Before I talk about Declan Rice a little bit more, I want to talk about another potential outgoing player. Now, there's no real strong links, there's a couple of articles talking about Zouma. That's right, the big Frenchman has been widely regarded as Chelsea's best centre-half this season, and most Chelsea fans would probably be quite upset to see him go. The truth is, out of all the players at the moment, Zouma would probably bring in the most money in terms of his performance levels, and although there's not any real links of perhaps him going, Matt Law, the journalist, spoke on the London is Blue podcast. He said perhaps he's one that Chelsea would consider selling because of his value. Obviously, the likes of Everton he played really well at, they'd probably have him straight back in the starting 11, stroll in, give him a lot of money, give him a long contract. Zouma is really, really highly rated in France. He could probably even play for a PSG. Do you know what I mean? Like Thiago Silva's done out here maybe, or thereabouts. He could start for PSG, and obviously rock the French league, but he's a very good centre-half, Zouma. Now, it's dependent on what Frank Lampard and Chelsea are looking to do. If you remember at the beginning of the season, Frank Lampard fought very hard to have Kurt Zouma in his squad. He mentioned it a few times in press conferences and pre-season. Kurt Zouma is a Chelsea player. I want him. He said that pretty categorically a few times when Kurt was on loan at Everton and perhaps there was noises of a permanent transfer. Hell, perhaps Kurt himself wanted that permanent transfer, but Frank Lampard was adamant that he needed him at Chelsea as a good Premier League centre-half. He was in and out of the team all season, of course, but ultimately he looks like one of the best. Now, I don't know how much truth is in this idea of Kurt Zouma being sold. Obviously, I've got a huge amount of respect for Matt Law, as loads of Chelsea fans have. He's very, very close to the club, and you know, there has been a few noises, and of course a lot of teams would want him. I think Chelsea fans would be frustrated to see him go, but he spoke of like Andreas Christensen being very highly rated, or Chelsea are terrified of selling Andreas Christensen and him becoming, quote, a £70 million player out in Spain or something, and then Chelsea land of egg on their face. I think they look at someone like Kurt Zouma and see him as a more just solid centre-back, known quantity, that's worth a lot of money, that's not necessarily just going to turn into Virgil van Dijk. Do you know what I mean? But I think they look at Christensen, his technical ability, and think, oh, if he just plays in a better defensive system, he could be invaluable as a centre-half. You've got to think like this as a club, do you know what I mean? Personally, I'd sell Rudiger, I'd keep all the other three, to be honest, and bring in another dominating centre-half like Declan Rice. Seamless transition into the next story. Right, before we talk about the player and perhaps what transfer fee would demand a little bit more, let's talk about this social media post of him and John Terry. John Terry posted on his Instagram, him and Declan Rice. What a centre-back partnership this would have been. Very telling, eh? The fact how he used the term centre-back partnership. He's not saying, oh, you know, me and Dec, or me playing behind Dec in a team would have been good together. He's used the term centre-back, so read into that what you will. Is that Chelsea going to buy him and they want to convert him into a centre-back? Who knows, maybe. Frank Lampard liked the Instagram post, so that's that. I mean, people are like, alright, it's confirmed. No, he's from the Chelsea Academy, he knows John Terry, he knows Frank Lampard, you know. Still, it's positive though. Maybe they did talk about a potential move. It's probably it's obviously out of their hands. It's to do with Chelsea and West Ham, and apparently West Ham want £80 million. Yeah, I bet they do. £80 million for a young CDM that plays in the lower echelons of the Premier League. Basically, I don't know. I was quite rightfully corrected in my last video when I said West Ham have got loads of money. West Ham owners have a lot of money and they have ambition and they buy expensive players, but their books are in trouble, and West Ham therefore are in financial difficulty. So thank you for those of you who corrected me in the comments. That is true. Maybe they could do with £80 million from Declan Rice, but I still maintain they don't need to sell him, therefore they're trying to scare Chelsea off with the £80 million price tag. Now, Chelsea will of course absolutely not pay £80 million for Declan Rice, but they do absolutely have designs for him and would like him as a centre-back. Certainly Frank Lampard would. So if they could bring him in somehow and lower that price, and if Declan does put in a transfer request respectfully, who knows, maybe this could happen. There is articles saying that Chelsea would look to try and convince West Ham, David Moyes, the owners, with cash plus players. The likes of Michy Batshuayi and Ross Barkley have been mentioned. Firstly, Batshuayi, I don't think he wants to go, and fair play to him. He's got 12 months left of this deal. He could run that down, earn his wages, then as a young player still, a relatively young player, pretty much have a decent choice of a lot of clubs and get a signing on fee as well. A pretty tasty one at that. So Batshuayi doesn't need to be, passed around like currency. He can do what he wants, and no Chelsea fan should be annoyed at him for not wanting to go to a club that we want to push him to. When it comes to Ross Barkley, it's a bit more of a complicated and difficult one. Of course, David Moyes knows him from his Everton days and would probably quite like him. Ross Barkley does hold a lot of value as an England international and a player with Champions League and Premier League experience, a lot of it, especially at his relatively young and good age. Maybe David Moyes could be tempted like that, having the likes of Ross Barkley playing in behind Mikel Antonio. There could be something there of a little bit more flair on the flanks. Who knows, but what's Ross Barkley gonna do? Because if you sold Ross Barkley in isolation, I think you'd get best part of 30 million. But when a player becomes like a part exchange player, their value in that deal goes down to a third. So maybe he'd knock 20 million off 80. and then we buy Declan Rice for 60 million plus Ross Barkley. Who knows? It's a difficult one, but it's going to take a lot. I do like the idea of having Declan Rice at centre-half for Chelsea. I also like the idea of Lewis Dunk. And you know what? If you're writing a dream wish list, yes, Dale Upamecano had an amazing game for Leipzig yesterday. He's amazing. He has been amazing for a while now. But, you know, these kind of players are probably unrealistic. So let's look for Declan Rice and hope this story develops. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this content, please drop a like on the video. It helps me out a lot. Remember to subscribe to Football Therapy if you are new, and comment all your thoughts down below on today's video. All that kind of gear. Remember to subscribe to Jan's Yard because I'm doing football shows back on there again, and you might enjoy live evening shows. That's it from me. Enjoy the football, and I will see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.